Everyone has seen that moment. The one where the speaker walks on stage, pauses with purpose, and delivers a line that punches you right in the chest. And then the room goes silent. And there's this overwhelming feeling of communal emotion. That speaker hasn't just affected you, but it's affected people to your left and to your right, and you're all sharing that beautiful moment. And on stage, it looks effortless. It looks powerful. Hey, it might even look a little bit magic. But behind that moment is a story. And today, I'm going to tell you mine. I'm going to be a little bit selfish today because I get asked a lot, how did you become a speaker? How do I become a speaker? But I think what they're really saying is, how do I turn my life into something that will help others? How can I find my voice and stand on stage without faking it? And so today we're going to talk about that. Hello, my name is Bart Walsh. I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a fitness expert, and you are listening to a show that's built to level up your emotional, mental, and physical resilience. It's based upon questions I get after my keynote speeches, questions that need a little bit of airtime, questions that I know can help a hell of a lot of other people if only there's a platform to share them. And thus I created this show. I should say, if you want to write in your question, or hey, if you've seen one of my speeches before, it's great to have you back and you've got some burning questions, you can write in to hello@bartwalsh.com.au. Be as detailed as you can with your questions, and I'll be sure to get it on one of these shows in one way or another in the future. And if you haven't already, or perhaps you've listened to a few of these episodes before and you haven't subscribed yet, or you haven't given us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, it would mean a lot to me if you did that right now. It takes about 10 seconds out of your day, but it helps boost us up the algorithm schedule so that people get to see these conversations and hear this advice. So thank you in advance. Now, let's dive in to how to become a motivational speaker. I do want to say at the top of this episode, even if you don't want to become a speaker on stage, there's some stuff in here that may help you become a better communicator. So even if you're just presenting in your office, or hey, you just want to level up your communication skills, this episode will give you something, because I firmly believe that everyone out there has a story, and one of the best gifts you can give this world is to tell your story knowing that it's going to help someone out there. Because everyone has their stuff. We don't see it. We see the Instagram side of things. People are reluctant to tell us what's actually going on in their lives, but I can guarantee you, if you've been through a tough time, come out the other end in your own very unique way, your story can help. I'll get off my soapbox and let's dive in. I didn't start as a coach or a writer or a motivational anything. I actually started as an actor. The stage felt like home from the beginning. The lights, the rhythm, the connection with the audience. I loved the theatricality of it. I love the theatricality of everything to this day. I loved the structure. I loved the tension. I loved the moment of silence before that first word. I loved how it made me feel in the audience and up there on stage. But the funny thing is, acting taught me something I didn't expect. You can perform someone else's words brilliantly, expertly, and still be disconnected from who you are and your own story. For me, the stage wasn't the hard part. Owning my truth and owning my story was. I was lucky enough to go to acting school in university. And if there's any of my alumni that are listening today, hello, I hope you're doing well. I love each and every one of you. Acting school is a very unique experience and a very unique university experience. If you're taking it the right way, you're pretty much at the acting school, at the facility 7 days a week. You're doing rehearsals, you're doing voice work, you do some really woo-woo stuff like rolling on the floor, finding resonance, feeling resonance in different parts of your body. And the whole idea of the first year of acting school is to break you down. They teach you how to breathe again. They teach you how to move again. They pretty much just make you a blank canvas. Then in the second and third year, that's when you start learning the text. That's when you start learning the protocols. But in the first year, it's all about understanding who you are. And I really believe that most people should go through the first year of acting school just to become more self-aware and understand who they are as a person so that they can better indoctrinate themselves into the world that they live in. So it breaks you down. But what I've learned is that acting is really just communication. And if you look at the best actors in the world, there's a strange irony there because they don't actually act. They just be. And we've heard stories of, Jim Carrey and Heath Ledger always being in character when on set in certain films. And I truly believe that's a core part of being a good actor. They were comfortable in being that person 24/7 that when the cameras went action, they could deliver the lines so naturally that it was so believable. So I learned that acting is really communication, and what I learned in acting school, I actually now employ in my day-to-day. And so during this period, I became very comfortable being a character for someone else's words, someone else's play, someone else's script. But the hardest part for me was understanding who I was. And I look back on the Bart back in those times, and I see a completely different person. I see a boy, not a man, who was arrogant, a boy that really liked attention and would do just about anything to get that attention. I see a boy who didn't know who he was. So even though during that time I was great on stage, I could communicate a script and an emotion, I honestly didn't know who I was. And so when it came to speaking on stage now, telling my story, it has been a tough journey. But I think that's what makes my keynote speeches so powerful, because I've done the work to understand who I am. And if you're out there thinking, how can I tell my story? How can I affect other people with my communication on stage or off? We do have to dive into, hey, who am I? What do I want? What do I stand for? What are my values? And then all of a sudden your story will become so much more rich because it comes from an authentic place. And then after acting school, my life had a series of plot twists. And if you've heard my keynote speeches before, you know these very, very acutely. The first was cancer. In my early 20s, everything changed. I was diagnosed and treated for a very aggressive sarcoma that sits on my jaw. The patch you see on my face here is the remnants of it, only a small portion of the remnants. But I was left with a body that felt foreign and a mind that spiraled in ways that I could not control. I was my own mind, but in a completely different body. And then fast forward a few years after that, I lost my son, Aurelian. His life was short, but his impact was and is infinite. And his legacy is that I created a workout for him. A bit strange, I know, but I wrote a workout for my son. And it's a tradition that we still do today on his birthday, October 1st, every single year. It's called Aurelian's Workout. And it's a workout that became more than a tribute. It became a promise to turn this pain, his and mine, into something more powerful, something bigger than ourselves. Now fast forward even a few years later, I was diagnosed with Charcot-Marie Tooth disease, a degenerative nervous system condition that's slowly eating away at the nerves in my feet, my lower legs, and my hands. It's a slow erosion of my movement, my fitness, the thing that gives my life purpose. And it posed a new kind of challenge. And yet something unexpected happened. I began to feel more connected to people, more honest and more human because of what happened to me. Life was stripping away the masks that I created in my acting days. And what was left was a story that I needed to tell. I should mention as well, during this period, I found fitness. I made one of the best decisions of my life in my cancer rehab. I stepped into a gym and fell hopelessly in love with the ever-adaptive nature of our body. I fell in love with me being stronger, being fitter, and every other aspect of my life getting better. It was like a hack in my life. And yes, I found fitness, and even though I've gone through all of these horrible things in my life, I still didn't think my story was special. I didn't. I honestly didn't. I had that beautiful imposter syndrome that I know a lot of you out there know very, very, very well. And my imposter syndrome came to a head when I had my first big gig. I was flown out to Thailand. They paid my speaker fee, they paid my flights, they paid my hotel. It was an awesome resort. And they flew me out, and as soon as I got there, I had an existential crisis. I went, who am I? A guy who's just been through some tough times in his life, speaking to people who are earning tens of millions of dollars, have highly successful businesses, thriving families. Who am I to tell these people about resilience? Who am I to share my story? And thankfully, I had the foresight to call a mentor of mine in that time of crisis, and they put me on the right path, and I delivered a great speech in the end. But understand that imposter syndrome affects everyone. Not everyone. It affects most people. Suffice to say, any speaker that you ask honestly, I can guarantee you has some element of imposter syndrome, either in the past or in the present, beginner or elite. But do not let that voice in your head stop you. Do not. You need to distance yourself from it. You need to teach it where to go, and do not listen to that voice. A little while back, I was speaking at a Jets conference, and Jets people out there, I'll do a burpee just after this. We call it the Jets Gathering. The C word is a burpee word. That's another story. But I love these events the most because I'm talking to a network that means so much to me. I'm talking to people that have a direct influence in other people's lives, not just in their fitness, but in every other aspect of it. And that's why these events mean so much to me, because this is where the most impact can be had, in my opinion. And I was up there, I was just doing my thing. I was sharing our strategic plan for fitness going forward, explaining programming and strength work, while also selfishly inspiring people to share my own perspective, which I think is a pretty good one, dare I say. And after I came off stage, our CEO, she pulled me aside almost immediately. And she told me, you need to do this. This is your thing. And that moment mattered, because sometimes we need someone else to name the thing that we already feel deep down. We need someone to point it out and just encourage us on that path. And then from there, she actually coached me, and still is to this day. She encouraged me, she helped me, she pushed me, she questioned some of the decisions that I made. And for that, I'll forever be grateful, because support matters. Guidance, it matters. But so does taking things seriously. Mentors and coaches are everywhere in your life, and these are the people that will help you get to the next level. The more I'm in this beautiful life of ours, the more I realize, one, humans aren't meant to suffer alone, and two, humans aren't meant to succeed alone. In fact, they can't succeed alone. You ask any elite athlete, anyone at the top of their game, and one of the first things they'll tell you is that they're successful because of the people around them and the support they have around them. And for a lot of us, to get to that next level, we simply have to either ask for help or start taking advice from all of the great role models that are in my life. I've had mentors who are managers who have no idea that they're my mentor. My parents, my family members, my colleagues, my kids are mentors in some ways too. There's always lessons to learn from key people in your life, but you need to look for them, and then you need to find them. Because you've got to understand that forging your own path requires different perspectives. If you want to go to a place that you have never been before, in your career, in your family, in your happiness, in fact, if you want to go to a place no one's ever been before, you need to forge that path for you. And the best way I think you can do that is by taking advice from people that have been to similar places and then putting them in your own expertise, taking them into your own regime. I'm so grateful for the people in my life who I've encountered, who have influenced me, both good and bad. I've learned from the bad and I've flourished from the good. So I want you to take a moment to take stock in your life. Who in your life has your back? Who in your life will pull you aside, just like Elaine Jobson, the CEO of Jets Australia, did for me, to say, hey, you need to do this. I need you to follow this path. Who in your life is that person? And if you don't have that person in your life, we need to find it. Particularly boys, as we get older, I know it's hard for us to create new relationships, create new friendships. But we need to, if we want to take things to the next level, if we don't want to remain where we are, we need to reach out to those people and find who they are. Once I accepted that call, once I started on that path, I dove in, baby. I got clear on my message, my tone, my stories. I rehearsed my ass off and still do to this day. And I studied the greats. I studied Tony Robbins. I had a look at Brené Brown. Tony taught me how to command space and energy. And Brené, she indirectly taught me that vulnerability is not a weakness. Vulnerability is leadership. Vulnerability is resilience. And then I did the typical thing. I built a website. I created digital assets. I reached out to my network. I treated it like it was a business. And to be honest, I still do. And most importantly, and here is the thing you should write down every single day, I backed myself. Even when I didn't know where the next gig was coming from, even when imposter syndrome snuck in through those cracks that I thought were full, even when I was speaking to 6 people on the gym floor about hip placement on a squat, I backed myself. Because here's the truth. If you want to carve your own path, you have to be willing to enter waters that are unknown. You need to be brave. You need to be confident, and you need to push yourself forward. You need to believe. And to be honest, this is the most terrifying thing. The uncertainty, the unknown, the investing of time and money into a world that's foreign to you and an outcome that you don't know what it's going to be. But I want you to hear me very clearly. If you want to live the dream life, the one that you've always fantasized about, you need to take the risk. There's always going to be an element of risk. You need to jump. And it's scary. It is. But it is 100% worth every moment of fear and anxiety to get on the other side and understand your true potential. Now let's get a little bit practical here. You don't need a viral moment. In fact, I don't think you should aim for virality. Virality is short-lived. We want to create a long-term plan and a long-term story and a long-term strategy for you having impact with your communication. You don't need a polished show reel to start with. You don't even need a fancy speaker coach, even though it may help. Here's what you do need. And I'm going to list 5 things that may help you in your pursuit of becoming a better speaker, a better communicator, but also becoming a speaker on stage if that is your thing. The first thing you need is a story. And you have one. It's in there and it is compelling and everyone needs to hear it. It doesn't need to start as the perfect story. One thing I've learned is that a lot of speakers, particularly in the inspirational and motivational side of things, their story is the same, but the way they communicate it has changed considerably over the years. Every time you do that presentation in a mirror to an audience, it will be different because you're developing it, you're honing it. So you need to start with one, but it doesn't need to be perfect, but it does need to be true. It needs to be true to your core. What have you lived through that changed how you see the world? Because that will be able to help someone else. And the second thing I want you to find is your message through your story. What is the clear message you want to convey? What message do you want the entire world to hear? And do me a favor, do not copy Simon Sinek. Do not copy someone else. You can take inspiration, absolutely. But I see it far too common, speakers using information and concepts that they've taken from someone else and just reframed it. There's a message in your story and I need you to do the work to try and find it. And then can you sum up that message in one powerful sentence? And I know that your message is much more than one sentence, but I want you to try and summarize it, because when you're trying to tell it to someone who has no idea who you are, what your story is, let alone what your message is, we need to make it as simple as possible and then extrapolate from there once you've built that trust. So we've got a story, we've got a message. The third thing is I need you to practice as much as possible, particularly if you haven't done much talking before. Get up anywhere, on Zoom calls, at team meetings, in community halls, at open mics. Hey, in the mirror is my best friend. My mirror at home must be so over me talking to it. I do it every single day. I need you to practice. And hey, you can even practice in conversations in your day-to-day as well. In fact, this is one of the best ways to become a better communicator. Go into your conversations knowing you want to get across a message, be clear with it, and then articulate around that message. Practice, 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 even if you think you don't need it. The fourth thing you need in terms of practicality sense is feedback and refinement, and take it from a guy who still struggles taking feedback about things that mean a lot to him to this day. We need it to craft the message, and I'll tell you a story in just a second. I want you to record yourself. I want you to start a podcast. I want you to start a YouTube channel. I want you to talk and get used to yourself talking on a camera, and get used to your own cadence and your own candor and your own tone of speaking. And then I want you to refine it. I want you to refine the tone, refine the language, take the ums and ahs out, and refine the storytelling. I want you to ask trusted people what landed and what didn't. And I know it's scary, but you need to do it. Just like me, you need to learn to love your voice and love your message. After cancer, my voice, the sound of it changed considerably, so much so that I didn't want to hear myself speak out loud or even speak on the camera. But it's been a big journey to get myself to where I am today, that this new voice now sounds like me. I've made it myself because I've put in the time to practice. Refinement of your presentation. When I first started my signature keynote, the 3 rules of resilience, it started as the third choice. That was the title of the presentation, and the message was a little bit different, but it was blurry. So I did the presentation to some family and friends. It was a tough presentation because I didn't realize how hard it would be to tell my story for the first time to people that are in my story. It was tough. But the feedback I got from that at first took me back, but I took it on and it changed the entire product. They said they don't understand what the third choice is. It sounds sexy, it's great for branding, but they don't understand it. So then I changed it to the 3 rules of resilience, which is a lot more clearer and a lot more easier for people to digest, both in the speech and when trying to explain it to them in person. The 5th thing, and again, the most important thing, I'll die on this hill, is courage to back yourself. You will not be perfect. In fact, every presentation you do for the first dozen, even 100 presentations, you're not going to be fully happy with. And there's a lot of speakers out there, myself included, that there is never one presentation that's going to be the perfect one. It doesn't exist. It's a fallacy. It's a myth. It won't feel perfect. You won't always feel ready to deliver it either. And this is another thing that I want you to wrap your head around. At no point is the perfect time to start. It's the same thing with this podcast. I put it off for a very long time, trying to make it perfect, trying to make it as good as possible for you guys. But I know I just needed to start and refine it from there. And you're going to see the show change over the next few months, over the next few years, into something a bit more applicable to you. But I just started. I need you to do the same with telling your story. No one else can bring your voice to this world but you. So back yourself, tell your story, and start doing the work. Timo, thank you for listening to the show today. A bit of a different one. I want this show to be more about adding value to you and not necessarily a soapbox for me to show you who I am, but I'm hoping you took something out of the show today. I'm hoping it inspires you to do something, whether it's telling your story a bit more at work, understanding who you are a bit more, or even, taking the steps towards getting on that stage and becoming a motivational speaker. It means the world that I'm in your ears and in your eyeballs today, so do me a favor, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the 5-star rating and review, particularly on Spotify. If you can, things are taken off on there, and on YouTube too. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that button, much appreciated. If you do have a question for the show or a question about your context, write in hello@bartwalsh.com.au. If you want to take things a step further, follow me on Instagram. I'm at walsh.fit. Team, that's it for this week. I'll see you next week for another episode of Built Resilient. Always remember to choose resilience. Thank you.